6:30 p.m. Cameroon time. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining us on today's edition of Prime News on My Media Prime Television, live from Douala, Cameroon's economic capital. With me, Fon Quinter, begin today's edition of Prime News in Buea, where Governor Bernard Okalabilai has this day visited injured students of yesterday's explosion in the University of Buea. Mr. Okalabilai called on the students to be courageous. Southwest correspondent Jobe Regan Muki was part of the visit advising reports from Buea.
The governor of the Southwest region, Bernard Okalabilai, has today visited victims of yesterday's explosive at the Amphi 600 in the University of Buea, who are currently receiving treatment at the Buea Regional Hospital. The 14 wounded students are all responding positively to treatment, said Dr. Martin Mokake, director of the Buea Regional Hospital.
Yesterday, yes, we found out that she had various injuries, one to the neck. We were much more afraid of the neck because it could cause obstruction of breathing. But we did another ultrasound, the neck was clear, but in the other findings we realized that she had a problem with the abdomen. So we saw blood in the abdomen, so meaning that she had an internal bleed. It is not because anything penetrated the abdomen though. It's simply because in the motion of stampede running up and down, she got hit by a lot of people and then it caused the bleed. We could be able to handle it in the theater and she's calm and stable.
Okay. Meanwhile, Governor Bernard Okalabilai called on the victim to be courageous.
Okay, we came to say courage. That you should not be afraid. After the hospital, you go back to your classes. You understand? The state is behind you to protect you, and those people cannot succeed to disturb the schools. Okay, courage. Be strong. There is nothing. They want to intimidate you, but we are there. They cannot. They should never intimidate you to go to school. That's what. Because we are there. If you don't go to school, you will.
30 minutes later, the convoy of the Southwest Governor Bernard Okalabilai descended to the campus of the University of Buea to have first-hand information on what transpired yesterday at Amphi 600 from the Vice Chancellor.
The person had climbed up there and hid himself there and threw it at them.
It is more likely that it is one of these.
Before visiting the site, the Southwest Governor held a meeting with academic authorities, military experts, elected officials on way forward to prevent such happening in school. It should be noted that activities of the University of Buea is waxing stronger with lectures going on normally.
Now let's revisit the incident in Amphi 600 at the University of Buea yesterday, November 10, that left more than 11 students injured. Get details in the following report. Wednesday, November 10, 2021 at about 3 p.m., panic gripped students in Amphitheater 600 at the University of Buea in the southwest region of Cameroon. An improvised explosive device went off, causing commotion on campus, leaving at least 11 students injured. A student on campus at the time of the incident says,
"It was in an incident 203 class that we discovered that an explosive device was placed in the class, and this explosive device injured some students. Later on, we discovered that after the explosive device exploded, there were some holes that were being noticed at the walls of the classroom, and a door got broken. And we discovered that the exact position where the explosive device was being placed, there was a mark on it, that is, there was a hole on it."
The Vice Chancellor of the University of Buea, Professor Horace Manga, who rushed to the scene, confirmed 11 students were injured, adding that investigations will be opened to determine the cause of the explosion.
We had information to the effect that some students were injured and were being conveyed to the hospital. So upon further inquiry, we were informed that an explosive device, an improvised explosive device, was thrown on the roof of lecture hall 600, and on reaching the ground, around mid-air, reaching the ground, it exploded and released shrapnel, metallic particles. The metallic particles injured about 11 students who were in the vicinity, so they were immediately rushed to the hospital. 9 of them are here at Solidarity Clinic and 2 are in another clinic.
Separatist fighters have claimed responsibility over the attack which rocked Amphi 600 of the University of Buea yesterday afternoon. It should be recalled that this is the second explosion incident in Buea this week after a taxi driver was killed on Monday, November 8 by an explosive device. Ahead, a 70-seater bus belonging to Mogamo Travel Agency was yesterday, November 3rd, reduced to ashes at Finance Junction, Bamenda, in the northwest region of Cameroon. Sources say the bus left Yaoundé yesterday morning for Bamenda. The fire incident has been blamed on poor manipulation by the driver of the said bus. Though no life was lost, material damage was enormous. In a related story, recurrent fire incidents in Cameroon has kept government and citizens disturbed as human, material and financial damage are immeasurable. In the following report, Alain sought for a solution to the phenomenon and she sampled an expert's opinion while revisiting some of the fire incidents recorded in the country so far. Her report right ahead.
The increasing fire incidents in Cameroon is now a call for concern throughout the national territory as markets, hospitals, shops, companies, business places, homes and others have all suffered the tragic phenomenon, which in a majority of cases, the causes are not usually known. Since the start of 2021, each month, 1 or more destructive fire outbreaks are reported on the media in at least 2 of the country's regions. But the big question is, what accounts for the recurrent fire outbreaks in Cameroon? Nyon Clement, a safety expert and environmentalist, says poor electrical connections, poor wiring and cheap materials as well as negligence are huge contributory factors.
Not buying good distributors, there is this Chinese distributor that is not too effective, so we use it, we connect refrigerator, television, iron, and then because of that there is high security and this can generate electricity. Sometimes the women cooking in the kitchen, they can forget to turn off the gas, and and children sometimes they play, they can come into the kitchen and light match upon the gas. So putting combustible materials together, we saw in Limbe where there was an explosion because gallons of petrol were stuck together.
The safety expert proposes general sensitization of the public as a measure to reduce the fire incidents.
It's a high time that we sensitize the general public on the causes of fires in homes, educate our children, keep combustible materials away from sources of heat, because we know fire needs 3 elements to start: heat, oxygen and fuel. So if all these 3 elements are present, we are going to have fire. It's a sad story that 2 children lost their life Monday night as a result of this kind of incident, but it keeps reoccurring. Even in public markets, we see that there is even fire, even in offices. Sometimes employees, they close at night, they forgot to switch off electronic device.
Clement Young warns that the environment is also at risk with the increase in fire outbreaks.
Even the environment, because it emits CO2. Now we are in the COP26 where we are talking about environmental climate change, global warming. So all of this is something that we need to look at it in order to stop.
However, the safety expert was quick at telling if the reoccurrence in fire incidents in the country is due to neglect or accidents.
Before an accident occurs, there must have been a situation or a condition that led to that accident. In some sort of way, we can't say it's really accidental, because if we take preventive measures, if we know the causes of fire in our homes, in our offices, in the different industries, we will prevent them.
It is fair to say that in order to curb the countless fire incidents in Cameroon, all citizens must put hands on deck, and fire extinguishers a must for all homes, offices, and business places.
The government of Cameroon, through the Ministry of Public Health and that of Public Service and Administrative Reform, has launched a special vaccination campaign for state agents in the country. The campaign kick-started on November 10 and will run to December 10, 2021. Jaingang completes the story.
The special vaccination campaign jointly launched by Public Health Minister Manaoda Malashi and Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reforms Joseph Lay effectively began yesterday, November 10, 2021. The campaign was launched in all 10 regions of the country, with several regional authorities taking doses of the Sinopharm, Johnson & Johnson or the AstraZeneca. The campaign, which will run for a period of 1 month from November 10 to December 10, 2021, targets a total of over 529,000 retired or active public workers and state agents. Officials, however, say in reality they hope to vaccinate at least 50% of the targeted number. State agents have 3 vaccines to choose from during this campaign, including Sinopharm, AstraZeneca, and the Johnson & Johnson vaccines. Doses of these vaccines are currently being rolled out at 11 vaccination centers set up for the exercise. The launch of the campaign in the Northwest region saw a massive turnout of the state agents, with close to 100 of them vaccinated. Regardless of the turnout so far, many public workers continue to express concerns about the side effects of the vaccines. During Tuesday's press conference, Public Health Minister Manaoda Malashi said the government has taken measures to promptly respond to all persons who show side effects after vaccination. Other state agents, still reluctant, are of the opinion that the vaccination exercise should not be made compulsory. Meanwhile, according to Public Service Minister Jeff Lay, is intended to make the workplace suitable for public workers and the state agents and not a breeding ground for the coronavirus. This campaign comes at a time when the country is intensifying preparations to host the African Cup of Nations come January 2022. Another intensive vaccination for persons aged 18 and above is scheduled for November 17 nationwide.
Jaingang reporting there. Now, the coordinating unit of persons with disability in the Southwest region say there is need for government and other humanitarian stakeholders to re-strategize on their social humanitarian development programs in order to better address the needs of persons with disability. This appeal was made during the first regional conference organized by the association under the theme, Changing Our Perspective for an Inclusive and Local Development. Clarice Akeba completes the story from Boya.
Social rejection, the non-respect for provisions for an inclusive healthcare, which stipulates a financial percentage deduction by hospital in the treatment of persons with disabilities, as well as school fees exemption in educational institutions, according to some persons with disabilities in the Southwest region, are sometimes neglected in some communities. These challenges goes a long way to negatively influence the productivity and the subsequent contribution of persons with disabilities to local development.
Tico General Hospital, we don't have social office. So for the people that don't know, when they go there, they have to pay all their bills, which they don't supposed to pay, like the consultation. For the lab tests, they have to pay half while the government pay half. Say for school, our children are not paying fees. Even though when we struggle, they have the access to go to school, but most time either the teachers themselves or the other students mock them.
During this first regional conference organized by the coordinating unit of Association of Persons with Disabilities Southwest Region that held in Boya this Wednesday under the theme, Changing Our Perspective for an Inclusive and Local Development, such difficulties were brought under review.
We want to encourage parents of children with a disability to know that
these children, and they have the potential to learn like every other person in the house, every other child in the house. But if you keep this child, relegate this child in the background, it will be difficult for this child to realize his or her own potential.
Present during this conference were different stakeholders who, in their presentations, enlightened these participants on the different concepts of disability. Participants were also exposed to programs by the regional delegation of Social Affairs Southwest Region that seeks to address some of their needs.
Vision of Ministry of Social Affairs, the social entrepreneurship is the best way to help a vulnerable person to have a better life.
In order to ensure that the rights of persons with disabilities are promoted at all times, individuals, institutions, and community members have been urged to join hands.
Over in the Northwest region, the mayor of Bamenda 2 Council, Chenwi Peter, has handed over the newly constructed building to host the Bamenda 2 Women Empowerment Center burned down in 2017. The structure's worth over 20 million, as Charles Akeba reports from Bamenda. In the absence of Charles Akeba's story, we now talk health, where our reporter Bokengo Worthy talks about the infectious disease pneumonia, which contributes to more than 50% of deaths across the world, especially in Africa. According to the World Health Organization, pneumonia is the leading cause of death across all age groups globally. Bokengo Worthy with details in the following report.
Pneumonia is an acute infectious disease of the respiratory tract that affects individuals of all ages. The disease comes as a result of different triggers, which can be detrimental to health over time if not treated quickly.
Pneumonia is an infection of one or both of the lungs that is caused by a bacteria, a virus, or a fungi. Now, this is going to result in inflammation of the alveoli, which are air sacs in the lungs, and these air sacs are going to be filled with fluids or pus, resulting in breathing difficulties.
Claiming the lives of more than 1 million adults yearly and 2,200 children daily, this infectious disease possesses mild to severe symptoms which are supposed to be looked out for.
Shortness of breath, chest pain, headache, nausea, vomiting, mucus cough, loss of appetite.
Laying emphasis, the midwife states,
pneumonia is contagious as it is droplet-borne and is gotten by the sneeze or cough from an infected person. Hospital-acquired pneumonia, which is gotten after staying in the hospital. Community-acquired pneumonia we get from our neighborhood. We have ventilator-associated pneumonia, which is gotten after being under a ventilator. And then we have an aspiration pneumonia that is gotten when us taking in food or a fluid and then it accidentally gets into the respiratory tract.
It should be borne in mind that pneumonia is the single largest infectious disease that claims the life of older individuals as well as babies yearly. However, treatment methods for the disease exist in the different stages found.
The treatment of pneumonia would depend on the cause of pneumonia. If it is caused by a bacteria, then you might be given oral antibiotic or intravenous antibiotics, that is antibiotic injections. And the severity of the case, so you might be placed on oxygen and respiratory therapy in order to improve on your breathing.
Advocating for better global action regarding pneumonia this November is critically essential, especially with the coronavirus that is rocking the world upside down, having the same signs and symptoms like pneumonia. For every disease, bacterial or viral infections, early diagnosis is key in combating the disease as well as help reduce global prevalence yearly.
And news out of the country, our reporter Noraka Akeba made brief stops in South Africa, Tunisia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. She brought back the following.
In touring the African continent, our first stop is in Pretoria, South Africa, where a few Ethiopians, mostly from Tigray, held a demonstration on Wednesday calling for more external action in the country. The protest was staged outside the embassies of the United States and the European Union in the South African capital, Pretoria. The protesters, who were clad in T-shirts bearing the flag of Tigray and waved US flags, also accused Addis Ababa of committing genocide, a claim dismissed by a joint investigation of the United Nations and the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission. It should be noted that government forces are battling rebels from Tigray who have threatened to march on the capital. Diplomatic efforts to resolve one-year conflict picked up pace last week when envoys sent by the African Union and the US met with officials in Addis Ababa and in Mekelle, capital of Tigray. War broke out last November after forces loyal to the Tigray regional government attacked bases, housing federal troops and killing soldiers. And in Tunisia, thousands went on strike and rallied after a demonstrator died of tear gas inhalation during angry demonstrations over the reopening of a rubbish dump as environmental crisis mounts in the North African country. 36-year-old Abderrazek Lecheheb died on Tuesday in Agareb in the Sfax region on the central coast after security forces used tear gas to disperse protesters. According to a health personnel and family member, Abderrazek died of asphyxia. However, the Interior Ministry said he died as a result of a pre-existing health condition. The wider Sfax region has been gripped by weeks of protests over the rubbish crisis, which has seen trash piled up in streets. Meanwhile, Eastern Congo has seen an upsurge in violence in recent weeks. The Congo Army, alongside peacekeepers from the UN mission, have continued their patrols of local districts caught up in fighting. Despite the efforts by the authorities, the security situation has become more tense and there are many obstacles facing the region. Several residents are fleeing from Ituri town as rebel fighting escalates. Some villages have been destroyed with shops and homes set ablaze. More than 120 rebel groups continue to operate across large swathes of eastern Congo since the official end of the civil wars in 2003.
Noraka Kebi's tour around the African continent ends today's edition of Prime News on My Media Prime Television. My name is Fon Quinter. Keep watching the African Eye. Good night.